Pulp MX Network production.
EVS Sports brings you a cheeky Brit and an American YouTube racing sensation weekly on the LVK More Than Moto podcast. Here's your hosts, Lewis Phillips and Kellen Brauer.
Welcome back, everybody, to the EVS Sports LVK More Than Moto podcast. I am Kellen Brauer along with Lewis Phillips again at it today to recap some stuff from Ironman, perhaps. I don't know. We're going to do our blind show again where I have topics, Lewis has topics. So we haven't told each other what we're going to do today. But first off, Lewis, how are you today, sir?
I'm okay. I just realized that we really have no idea. Last week, we at least clarified to make sure that we didn't have the same topics, but I've just realized we forgot to do that. So this could be terrible.
No, because as I said, when we came up with this new idea, we always need to have backup topics on top of this so that if we overlap, we have our backup topics available.
Okay. Well, actually, that was my idea, Kellen, but thank you for taking credit for my idea.
Well, do you have backup topics today? Okay.
No, not really, but I'll just go with the flow.
Okay. And then even if we have the same topic, we can pretty much make it just longer anyway. I think one of the topics I have that we could potentially use today might actually be a very long topic to discuss. But you're good. Ironman, you went there over the weekend. I heard that it was much hotter than the temperature suggested. So guys are getting pretty tired and exhausted. How are you?
No, do we really have to do this every week?
Yeah, because look, you got heat stroke at Paula and it was 70 degrees. So
no, I figured it out. It's nothing to do with hydrating or anything. It's Parla and Unadilla. I didn't think it was going to be hot, so I didn't put on sunscreen. That was the issue.
It's
that
down
was
to
it.
sunscreen?
Yes, because Ironman, I put it on and I was absolutely loving life. And to be honest with you, didn't really hydrate myself, but I felt fine. Whereas Unadilla, I forgot. And then I was like, oh, God, I feel a bit shit. And wear sunscreen, folks. It's a lifesaver.
Fair enough. Had you been to Ironman before? Was that your first time? Okay, because I didn't get a chance, obviously, going there this year to see the track changes and how that have affected viewing. They let fans go into that new area before the Godzilla jump. Did it look okay? Like, could you still see over there? Could you see the riders coming in and out of there okay? Or was it like they just disappeared and then came back?
No, you could see bits. I mean, it doesn't hinder the viewing, does it? Because it's no different to like it's not like they've taken away a viewing section. They've just extended the track and put the fans around that. It's not like they've taken out a prime spectator spot to put a bit of track there, you know?
No, but I'm saying last year when they tried it, they did it on press day last year, and then the amateurs raced there last year and stuff like that. I don't know. From my perspective, when you were sitting in the main viewing bowl, you know, like where the podium is, you just couldn't see anything over there. So I'm curious.
Well, I wasn't there, so then I don't know.
I know, but I'm just curious if, like, this year you could actually see through the trees better or anything like that. Could you see them going in and out? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you couldn't see properly because it was surprisingly long in the trees. Like, it was a much bigger part of track than I imagined. But you could make out a good amount.
Did most people that you talked to, either pre or post race, like the changes, the start, and all that stuff?
Honestly, Kellen, I forgot to ask anyone about the track.
Okay, you're too keen following all the other storylines.
To be honest, I'm quite bad at that. Like, I don't really care for track questions, and I don't know why. Just it doesn't. Well, it's not even that I don't care. It just doesn't really register in my brain.
This is I don't really like asking track questions either, but when they make such significant changes, I just feel like it's at least a topic of consideration that you could ask these guys about, right?
Well, I guess it's also because I haven't been there before, so to me it wasn't like massively set in my mind that it was a change.
Well, my biggest
experience there.
My biggest takeaway, and Ironman's been notorious for this in the past, but I just could not believe that there were guys that started basically all the way outside. And they, like, that was a good idea. Like, guys literally hole shot from out there.
Yeah, no, that shocked me to the core. But I guess if it wasn't muddy in the middle, then they could have started anywhere and got the whole shot. Which is good. Like, what a great start.
Yeah, but Ironman in the past, like, remember when Chad Reed showed up on a JGR Suzuki in 2018 and he just got up on the grass? And granted, it was the inside, but, like, Ironman's notorious for that, where, like, the outsides are dry in the middle of the track is just like all muddy.
Oh, yeah.
So, but no, that was really interesting to see and kind of cool how that worked out. So yeah, let's jump into our show. We got some, I got some fun topics that I want to discuss with you today. The first one is going to be really interesting to hear your thoughts on it. But before we do, of course, big thanks to our sponsors for backing this show. EVS Sports, experience the pinnacle of knee protection and injury prevention with the EVS Web Eclipse knee brace. For over 39 years, EVS has relentlessly honed their engineering expertise, consistently delivering award-winning knee braces. This legacy of excellence is embedded in every facet of the new Web Eclipse, which represents the culmination of their tireless dedication to innovation and rider safety. Use code LVK30 to save 30% off today. Also, thank you to Namura, the leading provider of engine components for motocross, ATV, UTV, and personal watercraft for over 2 decades. Namura has been the preferred choice for premium and dependable engine components for more than 20 years. Whether you're restoring your vintage bike, rebuilding your four-wheeler, or upgrading your new 450 race motor, Namura has you covered. Our extensive line of cast and forged pistons, connecting rods, gasket kits, engine valves, and soon cylinder kits that enhance your engine's performance. Keep an eye out for our new and innovative products in 2024 and beyond. Stay up to date by following us on Instagram at Namura_technologies. And lastly, thanks to Racetech. For 40 years, Racetech has been supplying the motorcycle industry with high-quality suspension components made right here in the USA. For modern and vintage, Racetech is your go-to source for suspension performance. And I had a lovely chat with our buddy Chris Riesenberg there at Racetech yesterday. Gaming, Lewis. We were hanging out and playing video games together. Anyway, let's jump into this. What? You just blown away by that?
No, just weird flex on me. Well, you must flex that on me. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, we had a topic a couple weeks ago about you guys maybe got to start playing more video games.
Meh.
All right, here's my first topic, Lewis. Chase Sexton wraps up the championship over the weekend, obviously in the 450 class.
No,
and they were talking a little bit, I think, on the broadcast, and then I went back and looked a little bit myself about how Sexton is the, he wins the 450 outdoor title, but he had like almost no success in terms of 250 motocross wins or obviously 250 championship. He only ever won one moto. And I think he's the first 450 champion since Chad Reed that didn't have a 250 outdoor title to his credit already before winning a 450 outdoor title. So my question to you that I'm just curious your thoughts on this is Chase Sexton perhaps one of the most improved riders ever from a 250 to a 450 that we've ever seen?
No, well, let me start with this. And I've said this in somewhere, maybe it wasn't this podcast. I feel like I'm right in saying Chase Sexton was never meant to be this good. Like, okay. Even when he was a 250 rider, I don't think anyone was saying like he is going to be the man in the sport worldwide. Like, sure, he could be he will be a podium contender, but I don't think anyone was like, just you wait. No, I feel?
Well, it's fair because I think like he was living in Faulkner's shadow his entire amateur career, and quite literally was in 2019 until Faulkner, crashed in the whoops at Nashville or whatever, and tore his knee all to bits, and then suddenly Sexton was just kind of like, I guess I'm going to win the championship now, and then went out and won East Rutherford, I think, the next week, and then wins the title, and then wins a title the next year after that, battling Shane McElrath. Like, it kind of like all happened so fast in 250 Supercross for him that we never really got the chance to be like, oh, he's building to this level, he's going to get there eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but again, I'm not saying that people didn't expect him to win even. I'm saying that people weren't like, this is going to be the man, because it's not like he is just in contention. He is above win contender. He is the man. Yeah. And obviously it's rare to tip anyone to be that. So I guess that maybe it's not a rarity, because how often do you, like, did anyone say that about Tomac, that he would be categorically the man? Maybe not even that far. So I think that is part of it. I think it's a major lesson to maybe not pay so much attention to 250 results, because obviously Chase didn't win a 250 outdoor. Supercross, he was great. And also, I think it's a credit to Chase and Cincerello put it on Instagram that like he's never met someone with such determination or just like refusal to quit.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it comes down to. And I think that's the narrative that we, or the sport, because like that's a great TV narrative. I think that's a narrative that hasn't been lent on enough. Like, he is relentless, but also so self-critical and so like I tweeted it yesterday, and honestly, like a quote he randomly came out with in my post-race interview, he said, "There's not a point where I'm content. I think it's a good thing, but also a sickening thing. There will never be enough." But that says it all, really, doesn't it? That explains how we got to this position. And honestly, that quote almost gives me chills a little bit, because that's like that's real fucking, I'm going to fucking go for this. I feel like we can almost take that into our lives a little bit of like refusal to settle. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw you tweet about that yesterday, and I agree. Like, it shows his determination to not only ever settle for this championship or the next championship or whatever.
Consider the fact that quote came 20 minutes after he'd won the championship. So when emotions were at their height, this wasn't 2 days later. On a Tuesday, okay, maybe you could see that coming a little bit more. But when he's still wearing a championship t-shirt, he had a bottle of champagne in his hand, and without prompt, because I don't actually think I even asked him about that. I definitely don't think I asked him anything to do with that. Without prompt, he just randomly says that. That's the mentality of someone who's driven as driven can be.
Yeah, well, anyway, so back to my original question about most improved from 250 to 450. And like you said, it comes with the drive that he has for himself. To me, it's so unprecedented for a guy that, not that he was bad at motocross, but he was never the best in his class. Like, even the moto that he won at WW Ranch, I don't really remember it being like, yeah, Chase Sexton is just like, this guy's unstoppable. Like, he had a very good moto, but you could point holes into why the other guys were struggling or not having a good moto at that point in time. And then he had heat stroke right after that. But it's crazy to me that you look at the history of these guys that have won 450 outdoor titles. And like I said, Chad Reed, he had GP experience. He was winning 250 races. Ken Roczen was another name that he never won a 250 MX title and then wins a 450 outdoor title. But he's an MX2 world champion. Like, on some level, there's always we saw it on a 250, and we just never really saw it with Chase in 4.5 years in that class. And now he's a 450 outdoor champion and arguably could be a 2-time one, having gone up against Tomac before and just narrowly losing out. Like, I feel like this is such an unprecedented rise in his skill level outdoors. Supercross is a different story. It could have happened, of course, with his 2 Supercross titles. We saw this coming with his talent, but the fact that he's gotten this good in such a short span on a 450, I feel like is so underrated.
Yeah, underrated for sure. It comes down to semantics, doesn't it? Because you're saying he got so much better. Maybe he was always this good, but for whatever reason on a 250, it didn't fit. You know, maybe he was always had this, but the 250 just wasn't the bike for him, and that's the 450. I think that in America it's rare, but as you were talking, it kind of gives me hints of Federer and Geyser. Federer won 1 GP on a 250. And then randomly won on debut in 450. Geyser won 1 250 championship, but in all honesty, it was kind of handed to him. He wasn't the 250 guy, and then got on a 450 and was suddenly incredible. Yeah, so it's more prevalent in MXGP for some reason than it is in America. Maybe because we have more dominant periods in America. Tomac, Dungey, Villapota, like there's less room for something like this to happen, maybe?
Yeah. Well, I love that you basically just proved my point from like 4 shows ago where I said Sexton is Geyser and you were trying to fight against that. But now you know that wasn't what you meant.
No, and that just proves what a terrible debater you are, because you actually had an accurate argument in front of you, but you couldn't see it and you went the wrong way. Yeah, that proves how terrible you are at debating.
So anyway, but to my original question that I had asked you, is Sexton the most improved rider from a 250 to 450 we've ever seen? Would you say yes or no, or is there another name that comes to mind for you?
I don't know, because because you're saying that as far as champions. Yeah, like you're gonna have to go, because you could say that someone who was 20th on a 250 and went to 7th on a 450 is actually is the biggest improvement
of the champions. Let's just narrow it down to that.
I feel like I'd have to do research, but yes, in contention, sure.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I feel like it's possible to maybe do a bit of a disservice to his 250 career. I guess it's depends what you're talking about, because he will also be the first to admit that he wasn't great 250 outdoors, but obviously Supercross he was. So it can get a bit complicated when you talk about it, because you can tell me he's no good on an outdoors. I can tell you, but what about Supercross? You tell me, oh yeah, Supercross was good, but outdoor, like you can kind of get stuck in a bit of a circle.
Yeah, but again, and I don't want to drag this topic on, Supercross, he was good, no question about it, but he was not going to win in 2019. And so then he may have only been a one-time 250 Supercross champion, and he would have had to do it against Shane McElrath, which we've discussed a number of times on this show. So again, like I said, it's a skewed perspective because he just never was the guy 250 outdoors when everyone was on the track, and then he was going to lose in 2019 and then beat a guy that we arguably say couldn't have even been in that spot in the first place. So
yeah, but a one-time 250 Supercross champion's not uncommon.
No, it's not uncommon, but then you're starting to talk about Justin Cooper.
Villapoto had one, didn't he?
Yeah, but then Villapoto had 3 outdoor titles.
Okay, so but we're talking. I said one Supercross regional title isn't uncommon.
I understand that, but I'm saying if you're looking at Chase Sexton being a 450 Supercross champion and a 450 outdoor champion, and you take one Austin Faulkner crash away from it, and he only has a 250 Supercross title to his name before that, that would be pretty crazy to suggest.
You know what I would do? If I was part of Chase's management, I would really lean into that quote. Like that sort of, that I would make that the image. Kind of already is, but I would really make that the brand.
Yeah.
Like that is who this, because that's a brand, you can sell stuff off of that brand. That's there's quite a lot of merch ideas I can come up with. There's a lot to do with that brand. I would make that the brand. Like, we are the tiger. We are the refusal to quit guy. Like, knock us down 10 times, we'll get up 11. That's us.
Yeah.
I'm not part of the branding or management team. So
all right, fair enough. All right, let's move into our second topic here. I didn't want to discuss Chase too long, but I know you would have loved to continue.
No, actually, when you said it, Kellen, when you were going off your spiel to begin with, all I thought to myself is, fucking hell, great. Now I'm going to get shit comments.
No, you're fine.
Once again, I don't think anything I said there is actually insane.
No, you were fine.
But people are going to think it's insane.
Okay, so my second topic, I wanted to actually discuss this last week because it was fresh. The news had just dropped, but now we have a GP behind us as well to kind of back this a little bit. Team France was announced for Motocross of Nations, and they had Maxime Renault on the roster, and then suddenly he was going to be coming back for the Swiss GP over the weekend as well. And most of everything I had heard was like, oh, he's going to be out for a while. It's going to be a minute before he comes back. He won't be 100%. Team France isn't going to be that good. And now they get to trot the exact same team out this year that won them the Nations last year. So my initial reaction to it was like kind of surprised to see that this is going to happen. But were you surprised when you saw that Renault's going to be on the team? And then how do you think this affects their chances now of actually competing in 2024 at Nations?
Okay, multiple questions there, so I'll rattle through them. One, was I surprised? I was surprised only from the fact of like, oh, he will be back.
Yeah.
But in reality, a wounded Renault is better than Hatcherel and others. I can't even name someone else. That proves how dire the other alternatives are. Please remind me of your other questions.
Well, how does this affect their chances? Because before, like we had talked about Germany a couple shows ago, and I think you literally said Team France, like it's not going to happen this year.
No, but at that point, I did not believe that Renault would be back.
I understand that.
It's early.
But this obviously changes a lot, right? Like suddenly they go from, hopefully they get a podium with Fevre and Vial carrying the load, but now they could probably win again if Renault is even close to
they
his...
can win.
Yeah, so...
Renault was great at the weekend. I was really surprised how good he was, and he's got 5 weeks and 4 days to get better, 3 GPs in that time. Maybe he still won't be 100%, but he can be... Like, there's now no weakness in that team again. So, yeah, France, the Netherlands, USA... Germany, kind of a similar makeup to last year. That's the picture of contenders.
But so why I asked though is like, does it change your perspective? Because we had thought Netherlands, Australia, kind of like 1A, 1B, USA,
I left out
maybe
Australia.
in the mix there. Does Team France rise above that in your opinion? Because they were kind of, I don't want to say dominant, but like they were the force to be reckoned with at Ernée last year. Do you think they're just as good at Matterley, or was it the Ernée push? Like, what do you think about that?
Do I think they'll be just as good? Yes. Do I think that means they'll be dominant? No, because I think last year Jet obviously crashed in Moto 1. So Australia, there were elements that made Australia not as good as they should have been. So then I think Australia will be better. So I guess what I'm saying is France's level won't necessarily dip, but the other levels will rise to meet that.
Right, because like we kind of thought, looking at open class talent so far, that France was going to suffer not having Renault, but he obviously would probably mix into top 3 of the open class guys that would be there, because he would
Passenger,
be
Hunter, Blandrin, Nagel. I'm missing a country there. Liam Everts. I feel like I'm missing a contender country. I don't know.
Spain would be what, Fernandez?
Yeah. So no, yeah, he'll be. Yeah, well, he was 6th in the GP, so he'll be like, yeah, he'll be top 3 in that class. But that's France's strength. They will all be top 3 in their respective classes.
Yeah.
Maybe not Fevre, because the MXGP class is insane this year.
Yeah, but Fevre somehow always shows up at Nations.
Yeah, but
he's got like the Gautier Paulin effect of him, you know?
But well, no, because as I've said many times, I don't know where that's come from, because Gautier Paulin wasn't that great at the Nations besides one appearance.
He would show up when they needed him.
No, the myth and the folktale is kind of wrong. Yeah, Fevre does always turn up, but it'll be hard to do with Sexton, Hurlings, Geyser, Prado, Jet. There's a chance. Okay, there you go. Roczen, Jet, Sexton, Hurlings, Prado, Geyser, Fevre. One of those riders will not be in the top 6 of their class.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's insane.
I mean, one of those riders will maybe not even be top 10 in a moto if you combine it with the open class.
No, they won't.
You have Hunter and Plessinger, and yeah, like
this is turning out to be a weird nations where almost the biggest risk for each country is their best rider, because it's going to be harder for their best rider to perform as they need to. So almost with gate pick, I would start to look at like, I need to make sure that my number 1 rider performs like a number 1 rider, and I can't put that at risk. That is an interesting, because almost like imagine Jet, Hurlings, Prado, and Geyser all go to the inside gate in the first moto, but USA puts Sexton on the outside. You'd go, well, fuck. Like, because that is the normal move to put the 450 guy on the outside. But you're like, fuck, now if those guys get ahead and he's got to come through, fuck. So, like, maybe you just cover your ass and you put your best rider on the inside both times just to execute, and then the rest can figure it out.
I mean, my theory behind that, though, is
we know, Kellen, we know.
If I'm Roger DeCosta, I'm putting Sexton inside gate both of his motos and hoping that whoever Plessinger and Hymas and the other motos get good starts next to him, you know? Because I would have confidence in AP at Matterley being from gate 21 to 23 or whatever after qualifying, that he would still actually start like top 10 or maybe even top 5 from that gate. So
yeah, I agree.
So if you're USA, you got to put Sexton inside, and then like you said, then it just is a smorgasbord of all the best guys in the world probably right there on the inside. Because you're right,
I've got goosebumps. I've genuinely got goosebumps.
Well, like France is probably not going to put Vial up the inside, right? He's going to get a good start anyway, so they would just have Fevre be up the inside.
But then the caveat to that is Anstey whole shot last time from the middle, so maybe you can put your best guy in the middle.
It is a pretty fair start, right? Like way outside is rough, but middle isn't terrible.
But again, no, it isn't. It isn't the worst one. But again, you are putting yourself at risk not being on the inside. It's always, I've said this a few times, not just nation specific, but also like racing specific. I almost wouldn't want to be pole position, because I'd just like to see one other guy. Like, what are you gonna do? And then I can I guess that proves that I'm not mentally strong or strong in my conviction. But I'd almost wouldn't want to be the first one to be like, where do I go? I'd almost like just, you're going to the inside. Okay, I'll do that as well then. I was thinking of that, but that confirms it.
On that topic, I've never actually asked the teams or the team manager after Nations about this, but I'd be curious to know if they, like France goes to the gate first, whatever, and they throw Vial inside, if you're the next 2 or 3 teams, like, do you think that changes their plan, or were they always just going to run with whatever that plan was and it didn't matter at all?
I don't think it changes the plan because I think that it would be too much upheaval and pre-race stress to randomly tell a rider, yeah, you're on the outside now. When they've got in the zone and they're like, come to terms with what their challenge is. But I think it should be considered almost. Like, I think I would probably, like, if I qualified 4th and I was a Team USA manager, I think I would say, this is the plan. If the nations ahead of us go the opposite way, we're going the opposite way as well.
Yeah.
So be ready.
That's fair. That's a good way of putting it for sure.
Lewis for Team USA manager? Question mark?
Team GB manager. You guys have got to pull yourself together by the bootstraps on this one.
I think I'd rather be Team USA manager.
Any relevant news on Team GB? When is that supposed to be announced?
They will figure out if Max is going by Friday.
And then announce next week sometime? Early next week?
No, I think it's being announced this weekend.
Oh, this weekend. Is there a British Championship race or something? Yeah. Okay, fair enough. All right. That is my 2 moto topics then, and I have a non-moto for you today. I think it might be our only non-moto. Like you said, you don't really have one that is on your mind. This one was another push topic because I wanted to discuss it just kind of for fun. But you and I, we both love moto. We both grew up, racing, riding, whatever you want to call it. But I'm actually curious the difference between UK and US in terms of like what it is that you enjoyed about moto growing up. Like, what were the DVDs that you watched? Did you watch Bar to Bar? Did you watch this? Did you watch that? What kind of toys did you have? Like all that stuff. Cause I'm curious if it's any different at all than my experience.
Okay. Okay. Slightly weird asking me what toys I had. No. Okay. Bar to Bar, of course, but also they did the World Championship review DVD, the British Championship review DVD.
I didn't have any of that.
So I had all of those. Like, I almost collected. They would do a Nations one, a separate DVD for the Nations, which is actually weird, for that was its own DVD. An MXGP one, a British Championship one, Bar to Bar, AMA Motocross. So I would get all of those.
Was it structured similar to Bar to Bar then? Like it was just like a recap? Okay, yeah.
But maybe more, because Bar to Bar, never really understood this. Bar to Bar, most years, would go in depth rounds 1 through 7, and then just randomly be like, and then we had 10 other rounds that were okay, and here we are in Vegas.
I mean, to be fair though, isn't that kind of how the seasons were going, especially around that time?
Like, even now, when I watch Bar to Bar, because I watched Bar to Bar 2005 specifically quite a lot,
yeah,
I like really get into it. And then we leave round 6 and they're just like, and then there were other races. And it's like, oh, great, cool.
Yeah.
But why the fuck did we just put 20 minutes into round 6 and then 2 minutes into round 7?
Well, I totally, one that comes to mind is Bar to Bar 2 or Bar to Bar 98, whatever you call it. You're absolutely right. Round 6 of that championship, they did a huge deep dive in Ezra Luss crashing in the first turn and breaking his hand. And I think they dug deep into that because the championship was kind of close between him and McGrath at that point, and then it suddenly wasn't. And you're totally right. 7 through 14, race, like nothing's happening. So that's kind of funny how that you're right. It just rounds 1 through 6 with the thing.
Like I'd rather have an even, and maybe this is the OCD in me, but give me 4 minutes per round. No matter what happens, and then like I'll get the vibe, because I don't feel like I've had a season recap. I feel like I've just had a drunk guy give me a recap because he's like, and then other things happen.
You know what? Bar to Bar was completely different to that though. Bar to Bar 2002, a little similar because Ricky breaks his wrist in the first race, and then it's a climb back up to catch Villman in the points, and then he takes over at Daytona. So the first half is kind of like super in depth. Then the second half, it's like race. Then they get to Pontiac, which is like one of the craziest races ever, and that is like 10 minutes of the DVD.
But they do like pick it back up around round 15. Like they don't, but like they even change for commentator, because like for the beginning they will have the race commentary, and then they'll just randomly turn to a narrator, which proves that they are really not putting any effort into these races, because they'll just have a random narrator who I've never heard anywhere else. So presumably he's not to do in moto, who's like just giving us the spiel, and it's upsetting. Anyway, was it called Smooth Industries, the company that did the backpacks, lunch boxes and stuff?
Honestly, I don't know. I never actually had those.
I had an MC lunchbox, an MC backpack, Chad Reed quilt, Chad Reed bin.
Nice. You had more stuff than I did for sure. I just had all like the dirt bike toys.
Yeah, I had all of those. I think I can't remember what the name of that company was.
MXS Toys or something like that, maybe. Sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like they did Pastrana. They did most guys. They never did Carmichael from memory.
I had a couple Carmichaels. Honestly, I should have.
I don't feel like I did.
Yeah, I had a Honda one and then a Suzuki Carmichael. And
I remember having Pastrana. I remember having Reed. I remember having almost everyone, but not Carmichael, which is weird.
Did you have in your schools? Did you have like friends that were also into moto, or was it like same? Like all my friends, like no one knew what I was talking about 90% of the time.
How does that happen in California?
I don't know, man.
I feel like that's a rarity in California. That must be an odd. Like you must have had an odd experience.
I don't know, because the only person that I really knew that was into moto was into like freestyle. That was it. You know,
how can you be into freestyle? I don't really understand what you're into.
Well, because like I grew up in Southern California, the desert is right next to us, so everyone would go ride in the desert, and you would just find big jumps to hit, and then of course you get into that scene a little
riding. That's not freestyle. That's free riding.
Yeah, but of course, all the free riders out there, like Twitch is just out there in the desert sometimes. So you see that, and you're like, oh, Twitch, I'm gonna follow him, and he does all these freestyle shows. That's pretty cool. I want to follow that. And then we'd have X Games here. X Games would be in LA, and you could go see the freestyle of that. So you would
it just seems like a weird sport to follow. Like I feel like you can't really follow it. It's more like a festival where you're just like, oh, this is happening again. You know, like I don't really know how you follow freestyle. But anyway,
on the topic of freestyle, actually, I grew up having like the Crusty Demons of Dirt, and Terra Firma wasn't really freestyle, but it had like free riding scenes and stuff. Did you have all those DVDs or VHSs?
Yeah, Crusty Demons. There was a British DVD called Crash Kings, which was just an hour of crashes. It was actually a really good DVD, to be honest. If it was on YouTube, I'd watch it now. It was literally just an hour, and like the crashes were categorized. So like there was a chapter of first turn crashes. It was just crash.
There was a similar VHS series put out by Pace Motorsports that was like, that was Clear Channel and stuff before film. Right. That was just called Crash Madness, but because they had Monster Jam and they were somehow involved with like arena cross and stadium short truck racing, it was all of those crashes, and then they would have like 3-minute segments of like, here's Ricky Carmichael cartwheeling and the whoops again and stuff like that. So I guess kind of similar. It would just have like, here's
but I feel like it was like there was a beach race segment, or just like here's beach race guys crashing. It's a great DVD, great content, to be honest.
And I'm sure you just wore it out on repeat, right? That kind of stuff.
I'm trying to think what other ones there were. I can't really remember. Crusty Demons. As far as like non-race stuff, Crusty Demons and Terra Firma and Crash Kings sticks out.
Kings. Elephant in the room, of course, between us though is I grew up gaming. Did you have a lot of video games that were motor related? Yeah,
of course. MTX Motor Tracks.
Yep.
Most underrated game ever before its time.
100% agree.
If you could take that model and make it now with all of the updated shit, it would be perfect. Like
absolutely.
It just made so much. It was literally what I would want in a game. Contracts, management little side to it. It was basically what you would want in a game, but just for some reason never. All of the MX Unleashed, MX vs ATV Unleashed. What's the quad one? ATV Off-Road Fury.
ATV Off-Road Fury. Yep. What was your first game? Do you remember what your first game was?
MX Unleashed, I think.
Really?
No. What was before? No, MX Superfly.
Yeah, MX Superfly was 03. MX Unleashed was 05.
MX Superfly,
late 04. So then your first console was a PS2?
Yeah. I had a PlayStation 1, but I don't remember using it.
I had a PlayStation 1, and my first game I played was Jeremy McGrath Supercross 98. So,
attention, everyone! Look at how Kellen has just crossed his arms and like really engaged with me over this. Like, I suddenly feel like I'm with someone who's way too interested in the conversation. You know, when you're in a conversation with someone and you're like, "Whoa, I thought we were just having a chill situation."
Let's cut it there and go to your side of the show. Before we do that, big thanks to EVS Sports. Experience the pinnacle of knee protection and injury prevention with the EVS Web Eclipse knee brace. For over 39 years, EVS has relentlessly honed their engineering expertise, consistently delivering award-winning knee braces. This legacy of excellence is embedded in every facet of the new Web Eclipse, which represents their culmination of tireless dedication to innovation and rider safety. Use code LVK30, that is LVK30, to save 30% off today. All right, Lewis, what do you got for me second half of the show?
Oh,
give it to me.
Well, first of all, I'd like to start my portion of the show by welcoming.
Are you okay?
Welcoming everyone in. Thank you for sticking through Kellen's portion to get here. And also, I'd like to just give a nod to Kellen, because honestly, people, it is a shock that we have made it 2 weeks with this format and I've not had to I'm out any of Kellen's topics. Because in the previous format, some of the ideas that Kellen would put forward pre-show were borderline stuff that you would tell someone to put them to sleep. So it's shocking. I really feel like the fact that now it's more of a competitive environment, it's really brought out the best in him. Because again, based on his previous submissions, I had very little faith in him for this.
Can I just ask which of my 6 topics you wished you had vetoed, or if there are?
No, none. That's what I'm saying. It's shocking because honestly, I can't even remember. But like some of the stuff you would suggest before this era of the show is
hot versus cold.
I just remember just being like, I'm not doing that. I'm not talking about that because I have nothing to say. 20 seconds. There's a 20-second conversation. I remember a lot of flags and and like no. So we appreciate your efforts, Kellen. And and again, similar to last week, to be honest, I don't think I've really got anything that matches up to you, but I'll give it a good go. So, topic 1 from Lewis's side. And let's not forget that I was a winning debater last week. So, obviously trying to reclaim my crown. I had a call yesterday from an unnamed person that said, what's Ken Roczen doing next year? And I said, well, he's going to Suzuki again. Like, realistically, what else could he possibly do? And they said to me, well, remember when he was looking for another deal in MXGP? And I was like, yeah, I remember that. But also, I feel like that got shut down. And this person went, well, would it not make sense for him to go to Ducati, test the bike, do a couple of wildcard GPs, then race the bike in 2026? And I thought to myself, what an interesting idea that I hadn't considered. So my question for you, Kellen, is should Ken Roczen do that? So
the premise is 2025 on the
He's
sidelines?
Not got a contract for 2020. Yes. 2025, testing the bike, and then maybe do some wildcard GPs.
I'm out with that. Like, that's
are you out on the
not on the topic.
Or the topic?
Not on the topic. I'm out on that being a good idea because Kenny, I don't think is the type of guy that you give him a year off and he comes back and he's better. I think that would be like kind of the nail in the coffin, and he would come back and be like Ducati's first, oh, hey, how's this going to go in the USA? It wouldn't go good though. Like, I think he would get, be a 5 to 10 guy suddenly.
Yeah, I can agree with that, but I don't think that a 5 to 10 guy in 2026 is exactly shocking.
Maybe. Because, like, I look at it again, we're going to go back to this topic again, which we've talked about so many times. At some point, the current crop is going away. Tomac, Barsha, Anderson, Malcolm, Kenny, etc. So in 2026, if it's only Kenny that's left of that group, because we don't know what Tomac's situation is, but 2025 might be the end. Don't know what Barsha's deal is just yet, all that stuff. Anderson, who knows, his Cowie deal is up after next year, right? So anyway, point being, if it's only Roczen that's still part of that group in 2026 and he's the KG veteran and stuff like that, then you only have, Chase, Jet, Hunter, Jacob, maybe Deegan by that point.
Prado.
AP, Prado. So then I guess, if he's 7th, that's not terrible, but you would hope that he would still be in the mix with those guys, and I don't think that he would if he takes a whole year off.
Well, I guess what I forgot about this is my exclusive information that they aren't racing 2026 Supercross. So that really makes it just a ridiculous idea.
Because it's a year and a half off.
Yeah, but then it intrigued me because, trust me, 2022, he inquired with HRC about going back to GPs with HRC. He inquired with some other people as well. Trust me. So the idea that this could pose an opportunity to not commit to GPs, but pick the ones he wants to do and like scratch that itch. I was like, well, hang on, that actually isn't a bad idea. But everything else around it is a bad idea.
I think it only works if he races all 2025 GPs on the Ducati. I think if he commits himself to like, maybe not even like living in Europe again, but spending a quite large amount of time there and training in Belgium for the month and a half or two that leads up to the GPs and then racing every single race of the 2025 season, not even for the goal of going for a world championship, but just getting that experience of racing MXGP again and helping Ducati along the way, then yes, I could see it maybe still working that when he comes back in 2026, he's still kind of fresh. But I think if you take that much time off and you hand select a few GPs to do, it's going to go as the same way Cairoli just had it go.
Yeah, but Crowley's been missing for a long time.
I still think it would kind of be the same thing. He has to keep racing. You take that much time being healthy and missing races off, it's just not going to go the way you want it to. We're looking at this right now with Joey Savacci. He was ready to go racing and had 6 months on the sidelines, and I think it kind of hurt him in terms of like race performance, speed, endurance, etc. while all those guys are coming right off of having raced 6 months of Supercross.
So he needs to re-sign for Suzuki is ultimately because there is no other, I am right. There is no other option, is there?
Not that I see, unless he goes to another like satellite team for the sole purpose of getting on a bike.
This, those don't really exist anymore. You've got like the mid-range team doesn't really exist. It's either elite or bottom. There's no real mid. Phoenix.
But my point with that is, Phoenix Club. If he takes Red Bull money to them and Red Bull Fox together give Kenny a deal that's sustainable enough for him to do what he wants to do, and then he gets on either Yamaha or Honda if he really wants to, I could see that being a potential if he doesn't want to keep racing a Suzuki. But I don't think that really bothers him. I think he's fine with the Suzuki, so he's going to stay where he's at.
No, obviously, yeah, ultimately the Ducati idea is terrible, and it's not a real idea, just to be clear, it's a bench racing topic. But the two perks are, one, wildcard GPs, scratch that itch, and two, gives you a lot of scope long term to be an ambassador, do test, like basically sets you up for a very long time. But ultimately, Kenny doesn't need that because he's got enough money to just disappear. Bad topic from me. Apologies.
No, I think it's fine. And I actually wanted to ask an extension question off of that, if you don't mind. Have you heard any?
But go ahead.
Have you heard any more rumblings about Anderson or Barsha still wanting to do it? Like go over and do a year?
Oh, that. No, because the Barsha one was never true. And
really?
No. And the Anderson one was just a shit rumor, let's be honest.
But I'm saying the Barsha one was never true because there was never a deal, but I thought that he 100% said, I would really like to go race MXGP for a season, didn't he?
Yeah, but people say shit all the time. I remember WW 2017 USGP. Funnily enough, actually, bring it full circle to your topic. 2017 WW USGP. First time I've ever spoken to Chase. Obviously, he had no idea who I was. I didn't really know him. And he said to me, like, yeah, next year I really want the team to... I'm pushing Geico. We're going to race Argentina to prep for outdoors. And everyone I told her to was like, that's just not going to happen. But sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Also, just like another sidebar, this format is so much better because you actually spoke in that. You didn't just fire questions at me, so I didn't feel like I was constantly under attack for an hour. And actually, I got to hear you talk, which is quite nice. Fucking brilliant. I don't know why it took us this long to figure this out. Second one. I wanted to do this last week, and I don't think this is really a long topic, so we don't have to, let's not beat it to death here. I feel like we should just get rid of the SMX LCQs. Add more jeopardy to you're either in or you're out. Because ultimately, my understanding of a playoff is an LCQ doesn't really fit into that idea. And like at the end of the day, it's meant to be the best of the best. So you either make the top 20 or you have no shot. Because, what purpose do the LCQs really serve? So let's just get rid.
Okay. I hear you and I understand your point for sure. The LCQs, the purpose they serve is making sure there's 22 riders on the gate for the actual races that end up happening. Because if you don't have the LCQs and Hunter Lawrence situation at LA happens where he crashes in practice and gets hurt, they do not have 22 riders on the gate. And for the SMX finale, that probably looks a little bit bad, especially when you're trying to pitch this spectacle of 22 best riders in the world going for money, blah, 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 blah. Why is there an empty gate? Doesn't really make sense.
No, but I don't think that having 20 riders on the gate is a... And also, isn't that the theme of a playoff where the number of people dwindle? Yeah,
like but you don't want it to dwindle down because of one injury.
No, but maybe you have reserves.
You could have reserves, but then you're telling Romain Pep, hey, your third alternate, please come to all 3 races. We don't know if you're going to race. We're probably not even going to let you practice, but if someone gets hurt, be ready.
Yeah, that doesn't work. But maybe I just like the LCQ just doesn't. From what I know of a playoff, I just struggle to see how an LCQ fits. And okay, I hear you, but the occurrence of something like Hunter happening is so rare that it doesn't warrant an entire race.
It's not rare because Seth Hammaker got hurt in practice as well.
No, but I'm talking like one guy. It's not going to happen like 4 times in one race.
No, it's not. But I think because of the stakes, the way that they are, and obviously these guys struggling with finding setups that adapt to both outdoor and supercross conditions, I felt like we saw a larger share of quote unquote big ones in SMX last year. And so that obviously lends to injury. There's going to be guys that get hurt throughout this SMX thing. Hopefully it doesn't happen. It's 3 races. Hopefully we get in and out okay. But I would be shocked if we don't have at least one pretty gnarly big crash or something that leads to an injury this 3 SMX races. And if that happens, then we're missing guys on the gate.
I honestly can't remember, but how did we fill Hunter's Gate in LA?
It was the 5th out of the LCQ.
But we already ran the LCQ, so we just said to that person, hey, you actually qualified after all. Right?
No, I think Hunter pulled out before the LCQs.
Did he pull out that early? I don't remember him pulling out.
Because I swear they did like a TV interview, and then us in the press box were literally like, we got to ask someone what that means. Is it going to be 5th from the LCQ or whatever? But either way, then yes, you already have the race ran from the LCQs. If Hunter pulls out, you have the alternates there having already ridden the track, raced it once, ready to go. Fair.
Honestly, Kellen, well done. You're winning. You're the debater of this week. Because, I think you've swayed me. I mean, you're not swayed me because ultimately my core belief is still the same. But I guess you've swayed me in the way of like, okay, I understand why you can't do that.
Yeah, well, I understand what you mean from the point of, okay, like if we just cap it right now at the 22 riders, or let's just say it's 20, just keep it at 20, and then that Dean Wilson, Kyle Chisholm like battle would be way more intriguing, I feel like, at the last couple of races. But then again, like all it takes is one crash, and then like I think it's dumb to start SMX with here's the 20 guys, and then 2 guys get hurt at the first race, and then we come up next week and and here's the 2 extra guys that weren't part of the original 20. You know what I mean? Like narrative wise, it kind of just doesn't really fit. So
I do wonder if you could just run it though with empty gates. This is the playoffs. People have disappeared. That's how gnarly this is. That empty gate is where there used to be a body.
Okay, but if you do that, then that totally makes our sport look like what people already think of it, which is kind of daredevil, action sportsy type guys, like borderline freestyle. These guys are animals, insane, instead of like professional sport.
Fair.
Okay.
You've won debater of the week, Kellen.
I'm not trying to. That's my thoughts on it.
So much praise for you on this episode.
Thank you, sir. I do like that topic though. That's a good one.
Well, don't feel like you need to praise me because I
liked it because
on the chin.
I've thought about it as well. Like it does look a little bit odd to, and as a Racer X last year, we did a video series explaining the SMX cutoff and then the LCQ, and then obviously last year with the LCQ it was even weirder because we're pulling like 50th place to race the LCQs. And so I feel like that whole like explaining that side of it to the fans is really weird. I still think and you may disagree, I still think it's dumb that a race win only guarantees you the LCQ. I think it should guarantee you top 20.
Yeah, I think it should as well.
So, it's weird that we have that where if you just have someone come over or from a GPs, or like last year, another example was Thrasher had wins, but then I think was going to have to race the LCQ if he wasn't still hurt. Ended up not racing. Star just pulled him out. But he made the LCQ because he won a main event. I don't know. Like, it's weird.
Yeah, no, I think there could be some merit here, but it just needs a little bit of tweaking, a little more thinking.
Yeah. Should that be our homework this week? We'll think about SMX format.
So, am I doing this fan topic?
No, you can. I sent it to you as something that we could talk about. I don't know if it's something you want to go over or not.
Okay, I'll just do this fan topic then as my final topic. So, does that mean you want to do a read?
Yeah, let me do a Race Tech read real quick. Okay. Race Tech Gold Valves provide a plush field with drastically improved bottoming resistance and increased traction. All Race Tech products are 100% guaranteed and made in the USA. This fan topic comes from @SamRedmond401, I think is his tag, Sam Redmond on Instagram. And it's more of a GP related topic, so I sent it to you, Lewis. What has he got to say about this one?
Okay, well, first of all, he says, "Hey, Kellen." So how disappointed is he that I'm reading this? I've always heard about the MXGP Superfinal races that they used to do, and it seems like a cool topic. Maybe it would be cool, using the word cool a lot, maybe it would be cool to discuss how it came to be, why it disappeared, and is there any possible way to implement this in a better way? Also, is it possible to implement this in the USA series for just a round? The reason it's been stirring in my head is that it was really cool to see Roczen drop down to the 250 class and race riders he's never raced before. Just an idea. Keep it up and take care. So, first and foremost, are you taking care, Kellen?
I am taking care.
Okay, good. Well. So this Superfinal idea in MXGP was only run at flyaway events, ultimately to fix the issue of there being 15 riders on the gate. That was really the only reason. I do remember some faint rumblings that they would like to bring it to Europe and make it everything, but it was just weird. Like, it just, I don't know, like, obviously it was weird because it was new, but like, it almost didn't feel like a race for a championship. It felt like a little sideshow. Yeah, really weird. Even now, like, just recalling it and recalling certain parts of it, it's just bizarre. Unsurprisingly, it got ditched pretty quickly because no one enjoyed it for that reason. Obviously, there's an added risk involved as well, putting 250s and 450s together. So yeah, it died. It's rarely been mentioned since, and that's that.
Can you just quickly refresh me on format-wise? It was MX2 Race 1, MXGP Race 1, break Superfinal? Or did we still do 2 motos and then a Superfinal?
No, it was MX2 Moto 1.
Yep.
MXGP Moto 1.
Yep.
LCQ Superfinal.
Because there's only 30 riders or what? That they allowed in, or
hold on, let me figure this out. So, the winner of the LCQ in Qatar in 2013 was won by Jens Gitterman, followed by Max Anstey, Valentin Tille, and Dylan Ferrandis. How about that? 2 of the top 4 in the Qatar LCQ are racing AMA Pro Motocross and podium contenders 10 years later.
Honestly, how did they end up in the LCQ? That's crazy.
Well, let's see.
And Jens Gitterman beating him. Way to go.
Well, Anstey was 25th in Moto 1, and Ferrandis was... I can't even see Ferrandis on this list. Did Ferrandis not start? Hold on. Wait, Ferrandis was second? No, hold on. I'm on the wrong race. It's just thrown me onto a different race. Hold on. Right, here we go. Anstey was 29th. Ferrandis was 21st. So I don't know. I guess 20? They took... no, it can't have been, because if it was top 20, there wouldn't have been room for the LCQ riders, because it would have been 20 from each class, 40 riders. Must have been 18. Yeah, so even that, having a GP moto, like Moto 1, and then, hey, now we're running an LCQ. Very sideshowy. That's even worse. Just Again, what is the sports obsession with LCQs?
Yeah, it is kind of weird. And then did they? I forget. Did they split the classes to score, or was it like if you got sixth and you're the first MX2, you still got 6th place points?
No, they split the classes. So yeah, like Qatar 2013, it shows Hurlings as 1-1, but actually Hurlings was 7th in the Superfinal.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the 250s weren't. I think the most competitive that the 250s were was Thailand. Yeah, Hurlings was 4th in the Superfinal. Hilarious, actually, because 2012 was the Tommy Jeffrey battle to the death for the championship. Tommy moved up to 450s, and then at the Superfinal at round 2, Hurlings and Tommy battled to the death once again. So that's quite humorous. But yeah, it is quite cool looking at these results and thinking like Hurlings got 4th on a 250 and the next best 250 rider was 11th. Like, that's quite cool, I guess, but really like...
But it's also like, who cares? Because he only scored 3 more points that moto than the guy that finished 11th, but he probably rode his balls off to get 4th.
Like, it's cool as a sideshow, but it's not... There's no...
I always remember it feeling really weird, too. The other part of the question Sam asked was, is this something we should ever consider in the USA, right? Or should we... Yeah, no. I don't think so
What about, though, and I don't believe this, but what if SMX was both classes combined? Really making it the best of the best. Like, this is really... And then, obviously, the cutoff is more severe because you're taking 10 riders from each class. Dangerous because of... Obviously, you've got rhythm sections. But then, ultimately, the 250s mostly do.
I like it from the perspective of having best of the best against each other. I think I hate it for everything else. Safety
for whatever reason in this sport, putting the 2 classes together just doesn't seem right in any scenario.
But it works for nations because you're going for a team score at that point.
Yes.
But everything else, like individually,
of any sort of important championship.
Yeah, individually, it doesn't make any sense because, at the end of the day, you could have a 250 guy have a ridiculously good moto, maybe even win, but is that really that cool? Because 90% of the time, they're going to barely get top 5 because the 450s are just going to be better.
Yeah, it kind of takes away all element. It almost takes away a competitive element because you go to the race and you know that Hayden Deegan's going to get his ass kicked.
Yeah, like it would be, I don't know, not the same, but it'd just be dumb to have like F1 versus F2 cars together.
Yeah, I guess the only way it would work is say that instead of a 450 and a 250 class, everyone in this sport was on 250s and the classes were split by under 23 and over 23. If you merged them in the playoffs, then it would make sense because equal equipment, equal opportunity, and you're just putting everyone together.
Yeah.
But the hierarchy of 450 and 250 is so complicated in many ways that they just don't belong together at any moment.
Isn't Superfinals as well, they kind of presented a weird statistical oddity that you, I think, came across this year when Jeffrey Hurlings won his 200th moto, but he didn't actually.
Well, no. So I said that he won his 200th moto a week early because I count a 4th in the Superfinal, but
as
top MX2 rider as a moto win, which I think is right. Because also...
That's how they score it.
Scores, yeah. But then the TV broadcast said it was a week later because they don't count those, I guess. I mean, it had to be for that reason because that's the only way that the data was off. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it at all just because of... Look, we already have a tough enough time probably telling casual fans how our sports work how our sport works when you say, there's 2 classes. One is a 250 class, one's a 450 class. In a national, they both race the same distance. So there's no like differentiation between that. One class is supposed to be the feeder series, but it's kind of treated like they're both the same in terms of prestige sometimes. It's very odd. And then you throw on top of that, and then we just kind of throw them together. And then statistically, it's kind of all up in the air. It would just create too many problems.
Can I ask a question?
Hit me.
What if playoffs were 450s only? Best of the best, 250 is a development class. You don't get in the playoffs. If you win a 250 race or championship, you are automatically qualified into the playoffs, but you can ride whatever. It's not a bad
idea because it you know what it does is it pulls the elements of what Monster Cup was supposed to be, which is anybody can race, run what you bring. We only ever had like a handful of 250 guys like Kyle Cunningham race a 250 and finish 15th at Monster Cup, but it would bring that, whereas Deegan was a title. Go into SMX and see if you could get top 5 against the 450s.
It would help to better separate. It would help to give the 450 class its deserved ranking in the hierarchy as the superior class.
Mm-hmm.
It would pose a very interesting element of, is Hayden going to take this opportunity or not? It would maybe help the sport stop putting so much focus on 250 riders with 5 riders on a team. Maybe then some of these teams start to put more effort into the 450s, which would help, because then there's more rides for guys who honestly deserve to continue their careers in 450s. Not a bad idea. Quite interesting to think about.
It would actually be really interesting, because another thing I've always thought about with 250 versus 450 is we've actually seen total race times, especially in Supercross, be kind of comparable because they can run similar lap times for an extended duration. So I'd be curious to know if, like, Supercross-wise, when 450s can't do anything that separates themselves, like a big quad or something like that, are 250s actually comparable in a Supercross?
Wait, what do you mean? Because they'd be on the same bikes.
No, they could run. If Hayden Deegan races SMX, he could race a 250. That's what you just said. So that's what I'm saying.
I was kind of imagining he steps to a 450, but sure, I guess you can let him ride a 250. But then does that not come back to our Superfinal discussion?
It does, but if Deegan feels most comfortable racing a 250 against the 450s, you can let him. You give him the choice to race a 450.
That's another storyline. Why did you choose that bike?
Yeah.
Honestly, is it too late to make this change? How far away is Charlotte?
Call up Dave Prater right now and see if we can get it done.
I'll just call up the 250 teams myself and go, look, we've decided you're not doing it anymore.
Yeah, no, fair enough. That's a good topic, though.
Look at that. Our most interesting idea came from something that wasn't even a topic.
Yeah, we were talking about Superfinals. We end up there. That was good. And I like your topics today. We still have not used our veto officially, because last week I feel like it was just kind of like, do we really want to talk about these? So I like the new format. This is working.
So do I. It's better because, before you would just hit me with question after question after, and at the 45-minute mark, I'm just like, oh my God, the interrogation. Whereas now, it's more balanced.
It's balance. There's balance and equilibrium in our life, Lewis.
Yes, it was like an interrogation before. It was too much for one man to bear. And now I feel like you get a chance to shine brighter. It's better.
Thanks, Lewis. I appreciate it. Do we want to do an SMX show next week? Previewing?
No, I don't. Well, maybe. Let's see. Let's see if we've got topics.
Okay. All right. If you have topics and I have topics, we'll do a show next week. But otherwise, we're going to roll into SMX and see what the heck is about to happen. A lot of fun stuff happening with that. Nations build up. We're going to hear Nations teams announcements soon, etc., etc., etc. But this has been a fun LVK show brought to you by EVS Sports, Namura, and Race Tech. Thanks for backing the show. Lewis, thank you for joining me. And we'll see you guys in maybe a couple weeks or maybe next week for more LVK, more than Moto.